I had to get the door for it, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or finding parking tonight.
Well, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call. Keith?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Leah?
Yep.
Diana?
Yeah.
Mary?
Here.
I'm also here. Meeting's been properly noticed and certified.
Yes, it has been.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Jeff. Any questions on the agenda? Questions?
I don't have a question, but I would just add that tomorrow night there's a meeting of the outdoor, or the recreational facility at 7 o'clock.
At the district office, yeah.
No, it's
Is it 5:30?
It's at
Oh, 5:30, I'm sorry. 5:30.
I was like, I thought it was 5:30.
5:30, sorry.
Okay, so no questions on the agenda. We've got a motion by Diana, seconded by Jeff. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have everybody here? We do. Feels like it's been forever. Except, now I feel bad. Approval of the September 2nd, 2014 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Leah.
Second.
Thank you, Diana. Any questions on those minutes? Questions? Seeing none. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain, we've got one. Addressing the board, any school news?
Just that Blaine had soccer practice, soccer pictures, and musical practice tonight, so
Was that
he
all?
wasn't able to be here. And this Friday is third Friday already.
Oh.
And the school year is off to a good start.
And what was our count today, do we know?
Well, it's not until Friday.
Today's the magical.
No,
Oh,
Friday.
this Friday.
This
Last
Friday is the
wasn't
third
it?
Friday. No, this coming Friday
Oh.
is the third Friday. Yeah. Also,
Okay.
the Mount Horeb Barneville football team beat Wanakee on Friday night.
Yeah, big game.
Mm-hmm.
Big game.
It was a very good game. It was cold, but not raining.
Any other school
No,
news?
that's it.
Any other school news from any of the administration? No? Okay. Citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments? Okay.
Dan?
Yes, sir.
Just an announcement, kind of related to our world, and that is the Dane County Coalition on the Prevention of Childhood Obesity is going to have a meeting at the Madison Public Library next to the Overture Center tomorrow night, 6 to 8 p.m. And I had erroneously offered rides to several people if they wanted rides because I'm going to go there, and I just go reviewing my notes and realized I'm going to be coming in from Milwaukee, so I'm not going to be leaving from Mount Horeb, so I'm not going to be in a position to offer rides to those people, but it could be a very interesting meeting put on by UW Extension, and I plan to be there, so
6 to 8 tomorrow.
6 to 8 Madison Public Library next to the Overture Center.
Okay.
Dane County Coalition on the Prevention of Childhood Obesity.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none, financial business. Did you have any questions? No?
No.
Okay. So a motion to approve the
That's
financial
actually under
report?
consent agenda.
Yeah. You gotta take that.
Yeah, why is that on there
Off
again?
there.
Because
That throws us
sometimes we
off every
have
time.
things, but this time we don't have anything.
Okay, yeah, we've got it under 7E as well. All right. Personnel transactions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Mary and Diana. Any questions on those?
Can I make a comment, Dan?
Sure.
Looking over each of these, it occurs to me that each one of these transactions is within the authority of our superintendent. And I was wondering if are we in fact actually approving these, or is this for information only?
Well, of course, historically, we've always approved them, but I think by the time we see it, the offers have been made and everything else, have they not?
In general.
For the most part?
Yeah, for the most part. But they don't officially become an employee until the board approves it.
No,
They
but-
may have started work, but,
But things like transfers and
Oh.
transfers and resignations, we're not going to overrule the transfer of a custodian from one building to another.
No.
We're not going to deny someone's right to resign.
I would just say that we've, in the last year and a half, have paid special note to the resignations that we've received. And if we don't receive this,
I'm not suggesting we
Unless-
shouldn't receive it, but I'm saying we should receive this information.
as opposed to, and when is there do you foresee a separation between staff types? So administrators versus teaching staff versus paraprofessional?
No, I was just suggesting that we change the approach to this and just have Deb come and say, here's the personnel transactions that I've approved in the last 2 weeks. And if we have any questions, we can talk about it at that time. But I think this is something that should be approved at the superintendent level rather than the board level.
Thoughts, Mary?
I'm not sure, I believe that that's one of the board's roles and responsibilities is to approve staff. I mean, every position I've ever had across 3 different districts, I always had to wait until the board approved my position. And again, I don't think that the board, that didn't mean I had to sit in front of the board, it just meant that was one of the legal, I think it's a legal obligation or a legal requirement, so I guess I would ask that we check with WASB to see if there's a legal statute that's aligned with that. I'm kind of thinking there might be.
Okay, we can certainly look into
But
it.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? So Deb, would you mind checking then to see whether or not?
I will,
Okay,
I will.
thanks. All right, so we have a motion by Mary, seconded by Diana. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The consent agenda, are there any reports anyone would like to have pulled out? Yes, Brenda?
I would like to vote on the Finance Committee report separately, simply because I would like to abstain from that.
Okay, we can have 2 separate motions then. Any reports that need to be pulled out other than finance? Seeing none, okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
And that is for all the reports with the exception of finance, correct? Okay. Do we have a second? Thank you, Diana. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, can we have a motion on the Finance Committee report?
So moved. Second.
Diana and Leah. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? 2 abstain. Okay. 8A, CESA 2. Mr. Albrecht, welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. We're going to start out this evening. I have a short video that'll show, it's about 2 minutes long, and it'll tell you in about 2 minutes, so it would take me about 10, so it'll save us a little time too. And I'm only going to take a few minutes of your time. I'm out visiting school boards. We have 74 districts, as you'll see. So it takes me about 2 or 3 years to get around. I've been out to see about 30 of them the last year and a half. And CESA 2, there are 12 CESAs in the state of Wisconsin. They were formed by state statute in 1963 and started in operation in 65. There were 19 originally. And then in 1985, there's a reorg, and they cut back to 12 CESAs, and CESA 2 was previously CESA 17, 18, 19. We are the largest with 74 districts. The next closest has 45. We have K-8 districts, mostly around Lake Geneva, and western Kenosha, Racine County. We have about 33 of those union districts. We have a lot of K-12s. Of course, of various sizes. Our largest district is Madison with 27,000. Our smallest has about 88, Norway Trout. And we get approximately 22,000 from the state of Wisconsin each year. Last year, our revenues were at around 16 million. Do we have that?
Yeah, if you're ready to go.
Okay.
I don't need to start.
We do need sound, but if you don't have it, we can sing.
You know it by heart, right?
That's right.
Is that dark enough?
I think that was it.
Want us to come to you? The next generation of CESA 2 divides our 74 districts into 6 regions for more personalized service. Dane, Jefferson, Green, Rock, Walworth, and Racine Kenosha. The next generation of CESA 2 is redesigned into 4 centers so we can deliver innovative services tailored to district needs. Let's co-create innovation. Let us tailor our services to you.
We have a 11-member board of control, which represent various parts of our CESA. Jeff's been on our board for, 8 or 9 years, something like that. 10. Okay, all right, 10 years. So we have 11 members that are chosen at our annual meeting. There's 3 or 4 vacancies each spring. We have a website that you can see there. The 4 areas, I'm not going to go through those again in terms of service. We work closely with the Department of Public Instruction. I'm one of the CESA administrators on Tony Weaver's Collaborative Council. And basically, we take initiatives such as No Child Left Behind, educator effectiveness, anything that comes down from the feds or states, and we're asked to deliver that to districts, to your directors of instruction, principal, staff, whoever. We sent about 3,000 or 4,000 people through our office last year for professional development, which is one of the major things that we do. School report cards is another that we work on implementing. Those are some examples of what we do. We're in partnerships with the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. The building you saw in there looked like it was in sunny Arizona. It's really in the sunny business park of Whitewater. And it's a business incubation center, which is quite unique, where we have young people from the university and the community who focus on technology and starting new businesses. We're an anchor tenant in that building. So that's our role there. We also work closely with Associated Financial on benefits for employees for the last 12 years. We've been doing that. Of course, that's changed a lot, so we're working now to inform school district superintendents and business managers on the Affordable Health Care Act because it's changing like daily. So we're working very hard on that. We work with professional organizations, WASTA, the Superintendent's Association, OSSA, the Principals Association, WSB, and WASCO. Smart boards is an example. We worked with Tierney Brothers for the last 10 or 12 years, and the market's getting kind of saturated, but we've had probably trained 4,000 or 5,000 teachers on smart boards, and we started on that at the beginning. I kind of use that as an example because it's one that's been in operation with us for a long time. CESA purchasing, and I have some folders here I'll leave, but I think that's one you should pay attention to because there's quite a bit of savings that you can garner from being a part of the purchasing program. There's no cost for being a part of the purchasing program. We do have a nutrition program with about 70 schools from around the state. That there is a $300 fee. We make the money for the program a lot with that from the vendors from 1 or 2% of the sales. And we're growing that program. It's a statewide program, so we're the only CESA in the state with purchasing. And what we're trying to do is to support our CESA so we can provide some of the other services free or at a lower cost. And it's everything from school roofs to athletic fields to copy machines, school supplies, everything across the board. So that's something that you should probably pay attention to because there's some operation savings in there. Satellite offices, we run a Head Start program in Jefferson County with about 300 young people in it. 2 special ed consortia, as you saw here. Vocational Opportunities Assistance Center, which is for adults with disabilities in Janesville, and a Birth to 3 center. In terms of what's hot, you've heard of all the state initiatives. I have here in your handout this diagram, and it breaks down into 4 quadrants: assessment and data, standards and instruction, strategy and leadership, and school and educator effectiveness. And the outside ring are state initiatives, then CESA, school district, and so forth towards the center. So those are most of the initiatives that we've been working with in the last several years. And then in the back, we have consultants who are available in each of these areas for support. I didn't mention earlier, we have approximately 300 employees over our most of 7 counties. We start out from Usella County there, Racine and Kenosha, way east, and over to Greene County. And finally, we started a liaison program this year to break our CESA up into 6 regions, because otherwise we just get to visit, I'll visit Deb and other superintendents maybe once a year if I'm lucky, and now we have liaisons out there visiting all of the superintendents 2 to 3 times a year to find out what your needs are in districts so we can be more connected with that. I did pass out a short survey. If you could complete that, you could do it with Deb, you can either PDF it to me or mail it to me. If you have any questions, I don't want to take up more of your time, but that's just a quick look at what we do.
I have questions about the purchasing, but I guess that's more questions for us here as opposed to you directly. Do you know your purchasing, how's it compared to its WSCA, is that Wisconsin State Schools Cooperative Alliance?
Yeah. You mean in terms of pricing?
Yeah, I mean, is that something that you track or?
I would think our staff could track that, and my guess is it might vary some according to items too.
Sure.
As to what, but they bid items out, we vet them, we have a group of administrators that if there's somebody that's interested in joining, we just don't let, like Mickey Mouse Construction join, and it has to be something that we look at and study and vet to let them in the program. And they have a site also called CESA Purchasing, CESA2 Purchasing.
Yeah.
So it'd be something I think would be worth your while to visit.
And then the PBIS training that we've done, that has not been through CESA, has it?
Not necessarily, I don't think.
PBIS,
Yeah.
we've been working with CESA to do it.
What was that?
Yeah, most of our.
Is that most of our training?
Most of our PBIS trainings have been done through CESA too.
And our-
CESA 2 is going to be, hopefully it will open some a little closer to home, because then it's very scary.
Yep.
And then it'll still be through CESA 2.
Okay. And I also see the STEM training, I don't know if Jared's here.
I see Jared quite frequently.
Because that's one we talked about at the last meeting. I don't know, I'm sure you guys are all over it.
Did we do our STEM training through CESA too?
Well, I don't know how much we've actually, what we've done has probably been through CESA too, but, and our educator effectiveness is through CESA too. We're using Leslie and Ron.
I didn't know that one service was offered by CESA too.
We also have, this year we hired a systems support person who basically looks at the initiatives in your district and tries to pull some of this together. He's outstanding. I don't know if you've met yet, O'Connor. He's new to our staff. He used to work at some of your staff probably. And then we've been involved in the Value Added Research Center project, and I know Jared, I saw him the other day at that. So we've got some touch points there. So, and Kevin Anderson is excellent with STEM.
And I think that's who Jared's been working with,
Yeah.
because he came in the other day and then he and Jared met.
So I guess my message is I'm not here to sell individual services, but for you to, just kind of keep us in mind when you're working on things. We really tried. We've gone on a limb now and really reorganized and have hired a number of staff because we had to do that. We had to get out to districts and reach out to them. And that's a great point. We're coming out to districts and areas to work rather than, we recognize you can't let people out of the buildings that much and travel that far. I've rode back to Burlington to make that home, but I realize how big CESA is. Yes.
Do you have a grant writer on staff?
We have several people in areas that can write them. We don't have a grant writing department, but one of our areas right now is called resources. And our director of resources is a person who's going to be seeking grants and managing to write them. We also have worked with UW-Whitewater on some grants. So if you have a specific area, you can let me know, we can investigate. We've also subcontracted with CESA 6 on that because they have a regular grant writing service. We've assigned individuals, but.
Any other questions for Dr. Albrecht? Sorry, I
Yes.
didn't see the PhD until after I
No
introduced
problem.
you. Sorry.
So I lived here about 20 years ago when I was getting my PhD in medicine. And your community's changed a lot. It was a great place. Our kids were young. It was a great place to live. I really enjoyed your community a couple of years we were here.
Thanks. Well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate
Take
it.
care. Yep.
And did you want the surveys just handed down right now?
You can if you've got them. Sure, I'll take them. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. 8B, consideration of co-curricular pay schedule revisions.
Yes, the subcommittee met last Tuesday to look, because we had several groups that were looking at becoming part of the co-curricular schedule, and so we had that request, so the subcommittee was called together. And we met, and I have the recommendations there. We had myself, Mike, Stephanie, and Jeff Rasmussen, and then we had 3 teachers that were part of the subcommittee. And based on that, we have 6 in the top group there that we're recommending for removal. And that's just because they have not been used for some time. So they're just kind of taking place there. We don't really foresee them being used in the near future, or probably in the future. So the group would recommend removal of those, and then we have some that we would like added. The 3 that are listed are the recommendations: the middle school musical, the high school mentor program, and the high school DECA assistant. And the rationale, they all provided that for the group when we met.
And how about, how many shifts were there, having 113 on here, between the different groups, so A, B, C, and D? Did you do a lot of that, or are those?
No, these are exactly what was
They're
in
the
place.
same,
Yeah,
okay.
this is what's been in the handbook. So there were no moves from one to another.
Okay.
But the subcommittee just met really to recommend which ones. And we talked about maybe coming up with a more formalized process for it, because it's kind of like, well, how do you draw the line between what should be on the schedule and what's considered a club and maybe should not be? So we're looking at doing that. I think Mike and Stephanie got some information from other schools in our conference about that, so we'll plan on meeting again just to look at what that might look like, so we have a more defined process, I guess. So what you have is our recommendation, then behind it is what is the current schedule right now, which is in our handbook.
Okay. What is the gymnastics that was removed? Because I see you've still got the head
Yeah,
gymnastics.
it's the
and
7th and 8th
assistant.
grade.
Just for the 7th and 8th
Mhm.
grade, okay. Okay. Any questions on that?
So this is your recommendation to us?
The subcommittee came to a consensus, and that was our recommendation.
That's your recommendation.
Yep, yep.
But I move that we approve Deb Klein's recommendation.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions on it?
Can I just ask, how do you decide that future problem solvers doesn't get recommended, but mentor does? Like how do you decide that?
Well, that's kind of why we want to look at a more formal process. We looked at kind of the number of students involved, the amount of work, and the regular meetings. That's what we're using now, but it's kind of on an informal basis. So that's why we want to look at a more formal, like an application kind of process. Just because that's still kind of in a more infant stage.
Yeah.
So,
And does it get looked at regularly? I mean, I'm just looking at even the existing one and think, like mock trial, high school, is that, like how many kids are in that, and is there more kids in that than there are in the future problem solver? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like those are,
all the things,
hard.
there are many things on there that are not even being used. Like mock trial is now part of a class, it's not done, so we're not paying anyone separately for that. So there are some things like that, but maybe we weren't right at the point where we wanted to recommend them for removal because, they could be used in the relatively near future. So last year, we didn't meet once. So this is pretty much stayed exactly the same way.
one meeting ahead of where you were last year.
Yeah. And I don't know in the past how often the group did meet, I guess, and make recommendations for removal or additions to the schedule, but, and we didn't really have, in the past, that we had language in the master agreement, but when the handbook went into effect, that language was kind of dropped out, and we put it back in this year, the same subcommittee language, so I don't know really before that how it was done, but we're looking at trying to formalize it so we have more kind of structure to who gets approved and what group doesn't get approved.
Yeah, and it would just be nice to see the criteria for it, like what determines that one gets paid twice as,
Yeah.
actually like 4 times as much as somebody else. Like what is the criteria that determines that? Is it, I just think that would be really helpful to see from an equity standpoint, so that you don't have a question about, again, I'm not raising this, but Title IX violation because all of the female, there are disproportionate number of female sports, it appears, that are not paid as much. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, it seems like that would want to be something that we'd be very conscious of and mindful. So. that
And even
criteria-
in looking at this, we even talked about some of the organizations that really have, I mean, it sometimes depends on who the advisor is. So
Yeah.
like some things go in a cycle right now, like DECA is just very popular and they have so many students involved. So at times that, I mean, so then it's a lot more work trying to.
Title IX doesn't address coaches' salaries. It addresses opportunities for the athletes. It stops short of addressing, because it's run into this at NCAA several times, and there's such a disparity at the college level between, say, the head football coach and perhaps a volleyball coach. So Title IX has stayed away from coaches' salaries.
But I guess I'm looking at equitable opportunities for females and males. So if you don't have equitable opportunity because you don't offer a coach for a program.
But it's measured in the student body.
So what do you mean? I guess what I'm getting at
If we
is,
were subject to a Title IX investigation, they'd look at the opportunities for our student athletes.
right, and we're eliminating some dance positions, and again, that maybe those are open to males and females, but when I look at that, it kind of raises the issue of, are we offering as many opportunities? We're not eliminating as many other opportunities. So is that fair to say in terms of Title IX, that we're continuing to offer both?
I don't know about Title IX, but I think it's a fair question. So. Okay, any other questions on it? No? Okay, we have a motion by Keith, seconded by Jeff. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? 9A, policy second reading, suspensions, expulsions, 447.3.
And this is the second reading, so this time we just have kind of the cleaned up version. Because last time I think we had the marked version, the clean version, and the prior policies. So this, we just put what we're putting forward for a policy.
Mary, I know you had some questions on it last time. Did you have a chance to review it?
Yeah.
Okay. Look okay to you?
Mm-hmm. Make a
Okay.
motion to approve policy 447.3.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
Second.
Thank you, Diana. Any other questions on it? I know there was a small handful of questions on it the last time we discussed it, but I think they were all addressed. Questions? Okay, we have a motion by Mary, seconded by Diana. All in favor? Aye? Aye. Opposed? All right. 9B, the joint meeting with the village. The agenda.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that last week and used some of the items that we had set for the June meeting that ended up being canceled and pulled some of those forward. So I've tried to include those in a draft agenda for everyone to look at. And Jeff had mentioned to me possibly looking at the tennis court area because that is kind of co-managed, I guess, with the village. So I guess we need to decide if we have any other items we want to add or...
It's everything that we had mentioned in our meeting, unless something new has come up. Anyone? Okay, it's good. So then you'll send it to Dave Ross and see if they have anything to add to it or any questions. Okay. The 9C, update on the solution to the primary water issue.
Yes.
Primary centric water issue.
Gary and I and Rachel met with some representatives from Findorf and Pluckett, and then a plumber who's kind of been working on this as well in conjunction with them. And there, I think I mentioned in my district updates, we have determined that one of the roof drains, for whatever reason, has become like clogged or not operable really, isn't working anymore. So we're not totally sure that that would solve the problem, but no matter what, we need to do something to resolve that issue because really there's nowhere for that to drain off right now. So we do have a recommendation about doing that. And I don't know, Gary's probably got a little bit more specific information.
The
On what-
recommendations from Hooper Plumbing, they ran the cameras down the drain. They also ran a jetter down to try and clean it out. And the jetter got stuck. So they're just jetting into nowhere and that drain. And it's about roughly, it's under the slab in the building, roughly 5 feet down. So we always wondered why before the renovation we had water in our boiler room. We don't know where it was coming from. When they fixed that, renovation, that went away. We never saw it again. So we don't know how long that roof drain's been broken. I assumed that they had checked into that, but possibly they didn't, when they did the renovation. So we're thinking that water is coming from that roof drain, and now it has a new avenue to come into the building, into the music room. Before it was going into the boiler room, we assumed. So anyway, the solution is to where the roof drain comes down on the northeast corner there, is to cut that drain and exit on out through the building. And we'd know right away if that was the case or not. Well, as soon as we had another 4-inch rain or whatever, because it doesn't happen all the time. When it rains, we don't always get water in there. It's probably collecting under there somewhere until it gets to be a certain amount, and then it comes into the building. So, but if we were to do that, that'd tell us a big story right away. If we get next rain or whatever, if we no longer had that water coming into the building, we know that roof drain. But we have to remedy that roof drain one way or another. And this is the most equitable and feasible way to do that at this juncture. The northwest drain now it is running, but when we ran the camera down there, different sections of pipe had settled. So you might have had a 6-inch pipe, well, it settled down, dropped down 2 inches, so you only have like 4 inches of water running out there. So that eventually needs to be addressed. That really should be dug up and hauled placed in. The village just recently did that retaining wall there, and they put new sleeves in for our egress on our water. That's where they see daylight is into the street, which is a good thing. just we're gonna have to rework those. We ran a camera from Academy backwards up towards the northeast drain, and we ran into a void underneath there. Camera just went into a void, and it just dropped down there. It's roughly 3 or 4 feet down underground there, so we don't know what's going on there. But we just know that nothing is getting through that drain into the road. So that'll have to maybe possibly be addressed someday. One thing we don't know, we probably will have to run a camera down the 3rd story. There's a lamb's tongue that comes out on one of the building detail there. And the thought is that that's where all of our roof water from part of that roof was going, on the 3rd story, the upper level, when they redid the roofs. But according to the plans, that is actually tied into storm sewer. And if that's the case, then that water's not coming out the lamb's tongue. But we have never had any issues that we know of. So it would behoove us to run that camera down there. The camera's expensive. It's about $110 an hour when you actually run the camera, plus whatever the plumber charging, which is probably $90. But we need to do that also and find out if that water is tied into that other drain. Where is that water going? From that 3rd story. We pretty much know where the other one's going, because when we ran that camera down, there's a tracer on it. We traced it and got a signal from it right underneath the, where the gymnasium is, between the bathrooms and the gym. There's a slab there, and that's where the thing died out on us. So, having said all this, probably the easiest and the best thing to do is to follow through with that option from Hoover. It was under the amount that you have to go for bids on. So that would be a real quick, easy thing to do, and that would tell us a big story, and it would give us some satisfaction, I'm sure.
Sounds like a plan. I was going to ask this, and then I thought, no, kind of a silly question, but then you talked about the void. What's the danger that this has washed out a significant amount of supportive substrate to the building in some place?
Well, when we ran that camera through, the camera went down into this void. It's about 3 to 4 feet down under the ground. It's not, it's maybe like the size of a manhole or something like that. And then the camera, the head of the camera just dropped down, and there was some aggregate at the bottom of it. So really, the whole thing's probably maybe 5 feet deep from top to bottom. So it's not like we know of a big void there. I mean, it is a void, but it's not like
It's not Carlsbad Caverns or anything? Okay.
No, I don't believe so. But, he tried to get it to turn around and do some other things so we could view it better. But I'm thinking, if our water is coming from that 3rd story and not going out that lamb's tongue and actually going to there, and it was exiting at the street, when we run the camera down from the 3rd story, that'll probably tell us something also. Where is that going? And we need to do that. At that time, we were concentrating on the gymnasium roof drains, and as it turned out, one of them was completely corrupted. But I would suggest that we do that. We would get those guys back out and run that camera down and then fix that one that we know is bad.
Where does that leave the sump crock for that little buried room, as well as you had talked about drain tile just outside of the music room and running that to the detention basin?
Yeah, it wouldn't run to the basin necessarily. Right now, it would probably just exit out. The way they have it set up, it's coming, you tie into the roof drain from the gymnasium, you run it in through the coach's office, and it drops down into that abandoned area. We're going to exit out. There's a couple of old abandoned windows in there. We're going to go out west of those windows and out to grade, and then we'll probably tie a piece of drain tile on it right now and just.
So you're still planning on doing that in
Yeah.
addition to the
Yeah.
roof drain?
Right, yeah, that is the roof. That will take care of that roof drain on that particular one on the gymnasium. But the one that's up on the 3rd story, we don't know about that yet. We need to explore that. So, but we definitely need to do the one. And from all looks of it, it looks like it comes out the lamb's tongue and exits right out onto grade. But the plans say that it went to a storm drain. And we don't know if the plans are correct or not. The old blueprints. And that is 1918 section of the building.
And we have also talked about digging up the planting in front of the music room and whether we put drain tile in there, but that might be next summer and see how this piping, maybe this piping will solve our water issue.
The hope is.
Because we know we have to do something with it and.
What's the
Before, of course, we didn't have any water coming in from there that we're aware of into that, but, and if this takes care of that, that might not be necessary. You can always do, clean up your grade and everything, do better things, cut the extra water away from the building. And it might be an option, you know, but like I said, if we get into a lot of disruption now, other than what would be a quick fix, you know, we're gonna have mud, we're gonna have a lot of, that seems to me would be a nice summer project.
Well, thinking about that is from what you had reported before, the cost would be minimal. That's not an area where we've got students playing. And I feel bad for our staff over there trying to use that room and our IT staff. It's just like, you know, for the cost, at some point you have to just, okay, let's multi-prong this thing and just get it taken care of. That's my state of mind, but.
Yeah.
The hope is that this will, if we can get this done shortly, that would tell us a big story. This and it's a minimal cost and minimal disruption for the moment.
Well, and the other part of that too is that if we don't get it fixed, the longer it goes, the more apt we are to have mold problems. And then we've got tens of thousands of dollars to try to get that remediated.
Now, we did have McNeil came in, they just came in last week, and they did another sampling of the room, cassettes and everything, and it came back completely clear. We left the grates off, we left everything off, so if it was in there, it was gonna show up. They sampled the IT room, they sampled the music room, and everything came back.
So we still got time to get it fixed. Good. Keith?
Can I ask Jeff to comment on this? Jeff, didn't you tell me something that had to do with the movement of a berm or landscaping along the north wall during the, didn't you tell me about the relocation of landscaping on the north wall of that building when it was being renovated? I thought you were.
They were supposed to go up closer to the south, on the northeast corner.
But I thought you said there's a place where the water actually runs towards the building instead of away from the building.
Yeah, it does. But that was where the old electrical went down through the roof, the concrete roof there, and it had a rubber bushing in there. And it ran along the building and it caught it just right, and it always ran in, followed the electrical pipe in, and it rotted out the main electrical before we renovated.
But do we currently have landscaping that slopes towards the building instead of away from the building?
Right now, on the north side, I don't think so.
Okay.
But before it was running in through there.
You're talking about in between the gymnasium and the renovated part of the building?
Yeah, where the
on the north side,
electrical and
yeah.
the gas used to go in there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, if I'm not mistaken, this problem we're facing right now is no longer connected with something that Findorff may or may not have done.
Unless it's the roof drains that didn't follow. Well, I guess the gymnasium, Garrett, there you are. The gymnasium, they didn't redo any of that, so.
They redid the roofs completely.
But they never rerouted all the drains.
But is there any reason to keep calling Findorff about this problem, or should we be shopping around for other contractors?
Well, this isn't actually Findorff that would fix it, it would be the plumbing company that would fix it. Findorff has just kind of helped us get it organized and find people to do this, kind of more that part of it.
And at this point, they know more about it than anybody else. You'd just be re-educating somebody, in my opinion.
What kind of pipe is that drains? Is it cast, is it clay?
From the roof?
Yeah.
I believe it's cast. It's all completely.
So is that cast all the way down and then out to the street then, or?
Out to the street, there was some clay. There was, let's see, the only one we could get through, of course, is the northwest one. And there's all different, there's plastic, there's all different kinds of sections where that's been worked on.
Because
But
they
that-
replaced some of that back in the 70s.
Right. And some of that has settled to where it's not completely intact all the way through. It is egressing, because when it rains, you go out there, and you can see the water pouring out onto the street from that roof drain. But it does need to be completely dug up and redone to make it completely right. Because eventually, they could wash out some stuff out of some of the areas instead of, going and staying in the pipe where it needs to. But roughly, you have about 150 feet of pipe there coming out where it sees daylight down in the academy.
Because the one that you said is plugged, that could be just a collapsed line.
Right, and we came back, we know it has been drainage, there's cobwebs and everything in there, we're in the camera back. That's about 90 feet in is where we found that void. And then where it comes from, the rest of it, we had the jetter got stuck in there, and we tried to jet it, and it's broken. So that, the easiest thing, you don't want jackhammer floors up or anything, so you just abandon it, reroute it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can we go back to that void? Is there any kind of a safety risk on the ground level? I mean, I don't want to have this all of a sudden have a hole in the ground.
Right, there's a sinkhole. There's 3 feet of soil and everything right on top of it. Pretty intact. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of voids throughout Mount Horeb and caves and stuff. But we were asking that same question too, whether you should get a backhoe in here and dig that up and see what's going on. What we're trying to do is go down through that 3rd story one and see if we can, if it goes into that void, that line's intact and goes into that void, the ideal thing to do would be to dig that up and reattach that pipe in that void. It comes from the 3rd floor on down. Now, the one that's going underneath comes from the roof drain on the gym. There's no real way to fix that. And I believe, with those all tied in and exited on that one, there's 2 of them there. On the one that's furthest east is the one that's in question, and it's not connected to any of our drains, our roof drains.
It sounds like when they were working on the geothermal on the other side of the building, they would like be going through rock and all of a sudden there'd be voids there too. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
We had to
Yeah.
fill them as they were doing that. So, okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. 9D, update on the fitness center.
okay, we do have a contract addendum that has been agreed to on both sides. Right now, we're just waiting for project specifications, which Joe Daniels kind of did, they did a kind of an outline of what they've done in the past. So they have to fill that in with what the exact project specifications are, and I will share those with our attorney and make sure those are okayed. And then we'll be getting a contract signed. Next Monday at the Buildings and Grounds, we are going, Joe Trainer is going to come because we have had some, there's some concerns by some of the staff that use the auditorium regularly to want to make sure that they protect the integrity of that area. So that's going to be part of our Buildings and Grounds. There's going to be some discussion on that as well. So that's, I guess, kind of where we're at with that. So this should be shortly when we have a signed contract and get going.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Any citizens' comments? Gary?
One,
Nothing?
sorry.
All right.
Try to double up next time.
No citizens' comments? All right. Future agenda items. Anyone have any items for future agenda?
I have one for the Buildings and Grounds or BGIT, whatever, to perhaps look at, and that is the traffic congestion at the middle school morning pickup and drop off.
At the middle school?
Middle school, yes.
Just the middle school, or are you talking about 8th and Garfield?
You're talking about the circle?
I'm talking about the front door of the middle school.
Oh, okay.
The buses are dropping off in there too,
Trying to.
So the buses are dropping off and parents are dropping off and it's, yeah. been
I've
like that
heard
for about a year.
I've heard that this year as well. A lot of congestion there. Okay. Any other items for future agenda items?
Just update our account after Third Friday would be good.
Okay.
You gave us one last time.
Mhm.
And then I don't know if we want to just look at or throw out the school report card at some point, just because I know those are coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. I did mention, I think, in district updates,
Yeah.
Jared will be at our next meeting to review that information, then be more detail at education committee meeting.
Okay.
There's
Anything
a
else?
question marks by the wellness committee, and we did reschedule that, just so that you can put a date in there. I think it was the 27th.
Yeah.
5:30.
Just to, sorry, I think that's it, Jan.
Are you sure? Are you?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, and that's at the middle school step room, the wellness?
Yeah, because it'll be before that next, remember in October, we have, our second meeting is actually, instead of the 20th, it's the 27th, because we'll have all the state data by then.
Right, okay. All right, you've got the schedule of next meetings. Again, wellness meeting is October 27th at 5:30 here. And at this time, entertain a motion for consideration of adjourning to closed session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 1CF to consider employee concerns and acquire access to personnel file according to policy 526, employee personnel records. Do we have a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you, Keith and Leah. Why don't we take 10 minutes?
Roll call.